Hello and welcome to Designer Discussions with Jason and Miriam. Today we're actually talking to Jeff Russell with Russell Room Remodelers.
Welcome to the Designer Discussions podcast with
Jason
and Miriam. Tune in each week where we talk about marketing, PR, and business advice for design professionals.
Hey Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
I don't know if you had listened to us at the beginning. We said we're going to start having more interviews on our podcast, which we used to have a few on, but now we're going to have more on. And we want to have on remodelers that are having success, and we actually know you and know a lot of what's happened. So that's why we wanted to have you on today.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So if you could tell all of our listeners just a little bit about who you are, about Russell Room Remodelers, how you got into it, and where you are right now.
Sure. So I've been remodeling in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul metro area for 37 years now. It adds up too fast. And I fell into it accidentally. Right out of college, I had a broadcasting degree, but started working with my Bill Brinkman, who is my business partner, the first 16 years, and found I love contracting. I love building. I love problem solving. I still use some of my broadcasting things. I mix sound at my church, and I've done some radio things once in a while, but I just love staying in one location, being able to serve people. And it's fun to build kitchens and bathrooms. We focus mainly on interior projects, although we do a few additions and larger things. I don't build homes. We've kind of set that boundary, and our target is kitchens, bathrooms, and basements.
Now, from all of the years you've been at this, what have you learned that because we often have a lot of younger listeners that are just getting into the industry, just beginning their own company. Yeah. So what kind of advice would you hand to them after all your years of experience?
Having an attitude where you keep learning is good. And then as quickly as possible, understanding numbers and pricing for profit and what it costs. Because most people in our industry come into owning a business after working as a carpenter or in the field. And they often don't understand that switch to charging a good markup on products in order to support the cost of just being in business. So kind of almost like, a good financial advisor tells you to have save some money for a safety fund. I mean, as a business, pricing for profit allows you to set aside some money so that you can handle those ups and downs. The customer's always right is kind of true. I mean, they may not always be right, but you got to treat them like they are. And often it's those painful things you learn from that help you figure out what to do better in the future. And I can't tell you exactly what you'll face. And even after 36 years of regular remodeling, we still have things. We had a flood in the kitchen last week. It's just it happens. But how you handle it, you got to make sure. I think it's an opportunity to excel when things like that happen. I hope at the end of this kitchen project that the homeowner, will give us a good review, and I can interview them, ask them how could we have handled it better, and they become a raving client because even though we flooded their kitchen accidentally, they were on vacation. The demo person accidentally turned on the ice maker line that had been disconnected, and it ran overnight. That we're doing our best to clean up, to fix the issue. We're not trying to hide anything. And I think those things are important because trust in home remodeling of any sort is probably the most important thing.
Makes sense. And you had touched on one of the three things that most new business owners have an issue with. One is the pricing.
Yeah.
One is the operations, all the behind the scene thing. And then the other is marketing. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a little bit about all, but you actually said something about the pricing. So let me start there. So with the pricing, oftentimes new business owners they don't actually charge enough, and
Correct.
they find that out after the fact, after they are trying to do all the operations, pay all the overhead, and do all this stuff, and they find out that way. But how long did it take you to actually figure out how to price right, and how did you figure that out?
That's a good question. Uh, I might still be figuring it out sometimes. Um, probably, I would say probably 5 years before we got comfortable, and maybe even another five to really settle in, the first 10. Um, and and one of the things as we grew that helped me, I mean, I've done a lot of sales over the years. I don't do much now. Um, Part of the reason I don't is because my brain is still in 1990, and I think we should be able to remodel a kitchen for $15,000. And sometimes we can't buy countertops for that much now. So, um, and 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 I would say good training, and then learning what you're not good at, and hiring people that are good at that really helps. Um, yeah, so I think it probably took 5 to 10 years. There's more resources now available. Um, I mean, you can you can put in all your business costs and ask chat to tell you what you should price, and it'll give you a nice long list and ask you more questions. And we didn't have anything like that. I had to dig for resources on how to price and how to. But I think it's important to learn to understand. You don't have to learn all your numbers, but I do think it's important for a business owner to understand the difference between an income statement, P&L, and L, and a balance sheet. Um, it was probably 3 or 4 years in before I took a little course on that. It was a short lemonade stand accounting was the book. It's a good book, but it was actually a 1 day course, and it solidified accounting in my mind really well. Um, that a balance sheet's like a scoreboard in a business. If your balance sheet numbers are going up, that's like the score in a basketball game or a football game. You should understand what they mean because a lot of businesses don't.
Mhm.
And if you're making money but your balance sheet is slowly going down, that's not a good thing. Eventually, it catches up with you. So kind of learning that I think is important. Um, and then understanding and a good exercise is to take a year and write down all the things you're going to have expenses for, the vacation you want to take, and then how many hours do you actually have to work, and take the amount of money you need to make and all those expenses and divide it by the actual hours and say, wow, I didn't realize I got to charge that much. And then add some more because you're going to forget something.
So you had talked a little bit about the operation. So you had led into that talking about the P&L and
Yeah.
hiring. So that's one of the things also that a lot of small business owners have issues with is when to hire.
Yeah.
So when did you figure out when was a good time for you to hire, and when did you know, okay, now I can start to hand this off and do more of the operation side, which a lot of the business owners have to do.
Yeah. I think so. The first year in business, it was two of us, and I was an employee. So my business partner at the time, Bill Brinkman, had a degree in business. He had always wanted to start a business, and he had lots of building knowledge. And I had none of those. And I had a lot of painting experience and a knack for building, but no training. Um, so it was just the two of us pretty much the first 2 years. We added another person um, as a partner. So, you share some risk when you're in ownership, but you also have the challenges of um, working together. And that can sometimes be a challenge. And then it was probably that third year we did some hiring, and we decided to hire based on selling some larger projects that were going to require more labor than we could provide. Um, we posted jobs. We looked at some colleges for summer help because most of our heavy work was in summer. So we had some good places to look, and we were fortunate, I think, to hire some, skilled but very green
Mhm.
employees in those years. and you learn a little bit what to look for. You get better at it. Um, I think it's probably wise for a lot of new people in the industry, if they're hiring, to get a little bit of help from somebody, whether it's a mentor who could give you some advice, or a hiring agency of some sort to help you find them. That has a little higher cost to it, but sometimes if you find someone who's good at it, it saves you a lot of time and effort.
I like that. I like that. And having help and often reaching out to others is one of the things most small business owners don't like to do because they feel like
Yeah.
they got to do it all themselves. So
Yeah.
when did that realization help hit you that I need help? I need to ask
Yeah.
for help.
Well, I think early on, we kind of decided to have that learning mentality. And we got involved with NARI and the Builders Association. So I'd go to some of their meetings and you talk to other remodelers. And so I think networking like that helps you to really gain some knowledge. I got involved pretty early on in a roundtable through NARI. And so there were some very experienced remodelers there that I could listen to, and or if I had a problem, I could call them and bounce ideas off of them, or say, what would you do? A couple times one of them I called, and rather than hire somebody, uh, he had carpenters that he just invoiced me for their time, and he knew what they cost and make sure that he covered his costs, and I didn't have to worry about payroll. And so we kind of shared an employee for, a small project or two. Um, and that kind of helped. But I do think networking, and if you're not an outgoing people person, if you're in business with someone else, find the one who is to do some of that. That helps. Um,
Yeah, I agree. Networking is vital. And then also, like you said, joining some of the organizations, NARI, NARI, National
yeah,
Association of the Remodeling Industry, NKBA, all of those, AIA, any of those, because that actually helps you get in tune and network with other individuals that have been in business for years that can
yes.
give you that information to help you along. So that's great. That's great.
And subscribe to periodicals,
Mhm.
like Remodeler magazine and Journal of Light Construction and Pro Remodeler and Kitchen and Bath. And um, those will have good resources as well. And often some good seminars and things. And, it's probably 15, almost, well, I think we joined Sen Design Group maybe 15 years in or so. But being a part of an association, I mean, they're a buying group, but being part of that put us in touch with you and put us in touch with other cabinet manufacturers and gave us some resources. Um, but it kind of takes a while to build to that. You kind of you gotta learn slowly because you can't take it all on at once. Um,
Yep.
yeah. And I'm thankful for that. I think I had some good people around me. As we added team members to our team, I was always looking more for character and abilities that align with our values and the kind of business I want to run, more so than the exact skills. Because you can teach a lot of skills, but you can't teach values if someone doesn't have the same values.
That's
Or it's
true.
really difficult. You're going to be button heads all the time. So, um, and then I had one employee who had some training with like strength finders and disc and things. And so we used a few of those things with different employees to kind of learn our skills, because we look at things so differently. Some people are out there executing, they want to be in the field, and others want to dream, and some people just want to network, and all of those personality traits a business needs as it grows. At first you have to do them all and they maybe don't fit you, but if you add team members and you look at where they work best, we all can improve our strengths way more than we can improve on weaknesses. So find people who are strong in the things you need, and when you hire well, you're like, wow, they did that so much better than I ever could. It's amazing.
I like that. I like that. So now let's talk about the marketing piece. So that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of business owners view as a necessary evil.
Yeah.
That's something you have to do, to actually stay in business. So
Yeah.
when did marketing become vital for you, and what are you doing now in your marketing?
Yeah. We always did some. When we started, we had ads in newspapers and yellow pages. No one knows what that is anymore, but there were local publications in neighborhoods that had little newspapers, and we'd put an ad in there. And we kind of took any job that came along. You learn to at first you kind of have to, and then you learn to limit to what you're good at, because doing things you're not good at takes too much time and energy. Even if you think you can charge enough, sometimes it's not worth it, because the energy it takes to do it is too much. So we always did a little bit of marketing. The networking helped with that. In our market, the Builders Association has a remodelers showcase that's tied to the Parade of Homes. So they do a weekend where remodelers can show off a kitchen or a bathroom. It's expensive. And it was the first time we did it was probably about 10 years in. And I don't know what it cost back then. Now it's probably a $5,000 investment when we do one or more. Because I've got staff to pay. It's a weekend and you have an entry fee, but they promote it well. And you have people who come to it, since like a Parade of Homes, who are looking to see what a kitchen remodel looks like. So that was a really good marketing event, like one-on-one FaceTime. We didn't even have a website when we started because it didn't exist. We got one fairly quick when they started becoming, but it was pretty clunky back in those days. And we've gone through a few iterations. I've built some myself and I'm not good at it. That's why we hired you to help us on our last build out. And now I have someone on staff who can kind of maintain it, and he takes photographs of our sites and he sets up time lapse and posts on our Instagram and all of those things. And so I would say something like your, designer discussions, kind of regular meetings where you can learn is a really good thing. That helped us to understand the framework within which you have to operate now today. Even if I'm not doing it personally, I kind of know what to ask, or I understand a little bit about what's going on, so that when I hire someone, I know they're doing what they should. But it's hard. It often feels, marketing's like fishing, you're throwing bait and you don't always catch something, and you got to switch and you got to try something different and find a new place to fish sometimes. And you spend money on bait, and sometimes it doesn't catch anything. But once you figure out what does work, then you got to kind of, keep that system going. And we're still working on that. I don't know that I've dialed that in yet. But I think when you do it well, it can be more of a vending machine than a slot machine. Like, you can get better at knowing where to invest and you'll get some results, rather than hoping and pulling that slot machine and like, well, maybe I'll hit something. And again, AI tools work really well to help that. So
Can I use that, Jeff? It's more like a vending machine in the shop. I've never heard that. I actually like that.
I agree. That's really good. It's a really good analogy.
I think I heard that from Randy Stanbury, who runs four level consulting or something. He does work with remodelers and builders, 4-level builder. I can't remember but he has some books like 10 reasons that contractors fail. And he has a network that helps to consult with people and build businesses. And I think he's the one I heard that from. So I don't want to necessarily steal it from him if he said it, but I like it, because once you and we know some of those things, but sometimes, if you put the money in the vending machine and nothing's coming out, you're like, well, I got to shake it and figure out, is there something else? Or maybe the price went up. I know, and we're just dipping our toe into like Google local services now. And they're kind of like the vending machine. I mean, they will give you leads. Are they going to be any good?
Right. Mhm.
I don't know yet. Well, the jury's out right now. And in my market, it's a little expensive. So, we'll see.
Yeah, Miriam, did you have any questions?
I mean, we know a lot of your story, right? Because
Yeah.
we've had the pleasure of having you in our program for a couple of
Yeah.
years, and I'm just happy to hear that that was helpful,
Yeah.
because I think that's a big part of it is it's just knowing what you know and what you don't know and when to use
Yes.
it. And I just want to insert at this point that you guys are like one of my favorite success stories when it
Oh,
comes
thanks.
to, yes, overall, and when it comes to PR, because Sharon, your wife,
Yeah.
who's a part of the team,
Yep.
right? And I remember the first year in the academy, it's like what I was teaching was really just like overwhelming and a little intimidating. And then
Yeah.
you guys stuck it out for another year and brought in one of your designers, and then you
Yeah.
started executing the get quick press strategy
Yeah.
that I treat. And in the first month, you got featured in Forbes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
I think
I don't know
that
how we're doing right now. I should check with Caitlin and share.
and that's okay. It also taught me actually that it's a good idea to have like bursts of activity, maybe for 2 or 3 months, and you
Yeah.
focus on that, and then you scale it back before you burn out.
Yeah.
What I know about you guys is, and why you're successful is because you like to learn, but then you actually implement what you learn. And that
Hmm.
is, I think, what doesn't always happen.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
challenging uh, to sometimes do that. Um,
mhm,
and not that I'm trying to plug Randy at 4 level, but we've worked a little with them, and I think their strength is helping clients implement.
mhm.
From a production side and from a sales side, not just the marketing piece,
Yeah.
um, the actual whole business piece, because it's challenging. There's so many hats you have to wear as a remodeler.
Mhm.
It's an easy business to get into, um, but it's a hard business to do well. And I would also recommend to people, do it if you love it. If you don't love it, it may be better to work for somebody than to try to work on your own. Just
That's
because
good advice.
you
Yeah.
got to have, there has to be it's that entrepreneurial, some entrepreneurial tests you can take. Do you have the desire? Do you have the drive to do it? Because uh, if you don't, it's easier to work for somebody and a lot less stressful, you know, because you can take off all the time you want. You just can never quit working ever. You're always it's always there. It's always in your head. You can't leave. But it's also wonderful. I mean, I love it.
One
Yeah.
question you had touched on earlier is about how you use AI. That's something that a lot of small business owners are either hesitant with or not using at all. So,
Yeah.
what is your view on AI and how much are you using it in your business?
That's a good question. Probably not enough. Um, uh, I started first using it for a lot of just writing tasks in terms of cleaning up your grammar and your speech. And you guys were good at explaining to us how to kind of teach it your voice. Um, I've used it where it's been, I would say for me, been really helpful when I have a difficult client situation, like this flood. The homeowner was on vacation somewhere they couldn't get a phone call, only email. Um, how do I tell them what happens without scaring them to death, but being realistic? And so using chat to list all those things, say, can you in a professional, non-alarming voice write an email that summarizes this, and then it pumps one out really nicely, and then I can read through it, edit it, which I did quite a bit, but it got me to that point of having something on paper to work with really fast, where normally I probably would have agonized for 4 hours over a communication like that, you know, because I don't want to ruin their vacation, which I probably did anyways, but my goal is not to.
Mhm.
So I've used it probably next for that. And then the newest way I'm using it is more with numbers. Um, I have a dedicated salesperson and I want to switch how we're paying compensation. So I've gone through, I'm not done yet, but a long list with Chad. Here's how we're paying, here's what I'd like to do, here's the goals. And it comes back with things like you should base it off of, margin and and here's the sweet spot. And if you do it at this amount, maybe a base plus. And so I can look at those suggestions real quickly and say, no, I don't like that. I'd rather have it this way. And it gives me another suggestion. It's not telling me what to do, but it's getting me to where I need to go or closer to where I want to be faster. And I think that's one of the things that's been really helpful. I know there's going to be ways we use it more with design in the future. My marketing guy who's on staff did a little quick Instagram reel with me where is it AI or not? And he got a whole bunch of kitchen pictures and had me guessing whether it was or wasn't. And it was kind of a fun little deal because some of them are obvious, but some of them are pretty good and you're not quite sure. And there are a couple I'm like, no, that's AI. And he's like, oh, that's actually real. It's really that bad. So, I mean, I think it's smart to use it. You can even ask chat how to use itself. What are the best ways a remodeling business uses chat? And it'll tell you, and you can start thinking about ways to use it. So I would say don't be afraid of it. Just start plugging some questions in and see what answers it gives you. It's kind of amazing. You got to verify. So like code things. I've typed in, current Minnesota code is an air gap required on a countertop or something, and it'll list those details. It's really good at lists and details like that. But you should always go back and verify because it's sometimes wrong. It's gathering from everywhere, and maybe it pulled some data from somebody who, wrote 15 years ago, and it didn't realize that.
As we close out, if the younger Jeff was in your office right now and he came and sat down with you and say, after all your years, what would you advise me beginning remodeling today?
That's a good question. I think going into all your jobs and your situations with, I think having a certain sense of humility, like I don't know it all. I think that's really helpful with clients if they can sense that you're there to help them and solve a problem, even if you don't know the answer. Sometimes you feel like I've got to have the answer. You don't have to have the answer. You just have to be honest that you're going to figure it out, and you can. So I think that, as well as everything you approach in the business side, and then work to build habits that are disciplined to do those things. So, having a good routine, if that's morning for you or evening, knowing when you do things best to do your bookkeeping. Don't let it go. If you don't like doing it, either give it to someone else or block your time so that you can get it done. Because those are the things that get you into trouble. So
I like that.
yeah, and network with other people who've done it so you can learn. Be a learner.
I like
It'll
that.
serve you well.
Yep. So, Jeff, if any of our listeners on here want to reach out to you, how do they do so?
Oh, sure. That's fine. Jeff, just JFF at roomremodelers.com. So
Awesome.
they could email me. Simple. And I'd be happy to. I've talked to several remodelers even in the last month who've had some issues that they're running into. And I love being able to just encourage or give some pointers when someone hits a wall on something.
Awesome. Jeff, we appreciate your time and we love having you here.
Yeah.
And for any of our listeners on here that want to reach out to Jeff, you know how. And we hope to hear and see from you in 2 weeks here on Designer Discussion.
Great. Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Designer Discussions and all of the helpful information. Subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. We look forward to having you back next week. For more information on the podcast and the marketing studio, visit designerdiscussions.com and follow us on social media.